We live in a world defined by technology and convenience. We communicate with friends and family across the globe, find information in seconds with a few keystrokes, and get almost any product delivered to our doorstep with a click of a button. These services are so deeply integrated into our daily lives that we rarely think about their origins. But what if I told you that some of the most powerful and influential companies on the planet didn't begin in a massive, high-tech office park? They began in the most ordinary of places, a simple, cluttered garage. This is a story of how a few visionary individuals, armed with little more than an idea and a relentless work ethic, turned a garage into the starting point of a billion-dollar empire. The secret ingredient wasn't a huge amount of money or a perfect workspace. It was an unwavering belief that they could change the world, and they were willing to start small to make it happen. By the end of this, you'll see that the next world-changing idea might be waiting in the most unexpected place. In 1976, two friends, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, had an idea that would completely change the future of technology. At the time, computers were massive, complicated machines used only by large corporations and engineers. Wozniak, a brilliant engineer, had just built a new kind of computer, a small, personal machine he called the Apple I. Jobs, with his keen business sense, knew this was a product that could be in every home. But they had no funding, no official office, and no factory. Their solution was a garage at Jobs' parents' house in Los Altos, California. This tiny, cramped space became the nerve center of the new company. The garage was a mess of wires, circuit board, and tools, but it was also a place of immense focus and determination. When they received their first major order for 50 computers from a local store, they had just 30 days to build every single one by hand in that garage. They worked around the clock, fueled by the sheer belief that their product was different. This first sale was just a small step, but it was the start of a journey that would make Apple a trillion-dollar company. The garage where it all began is now a protected historical site, a symbol that big ideas don't need a big beginning. Fast forward to 1998, to another garage in a different part of California. The internet was growing quickly, but it was a disorganized mess. Finding what you needed was often frustrating. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, two Stanford PhD students, had a new idea to make the internet easier to navigate. They had an algorithm that could rank websites based on importance and relevance, not just on keywords. They called their project Backrub. They needed a place to set up their servers and continue their work. A friend, Susan Wojcicki, offered to rent them her garage in Menlo Park for $1,700 a month. In that small, cluttered space, with a desk made from a door and a ping-pong table for meetings, they worked to perfect their search engine. They even tried to sell their company to a competitor, Excite, for a mere $1 million. But the offer was rejected. Today, Google is a multi-trillion-dollar company, and that garage has been acquired by the company as a tribute to its origins. This story isn't just about a search engine. It's about seeing a problem that everyone else accepted and refusing to believe it couldn't be solved better. In 1994, before Amazon was a global giant, it was just an online bookstore. Jeff Bezos saw the potential of the internet and decided to take a huge risk. He quit his high-paying job on Wall Street, packed his bags, and drove across the country to Bellevue, Washington. His first office was a garage of his rented house. To save money, Bezos built his desk out of a door and a couple of sawhorses. His first employees would pack books in the garage, and every time a new book was sold, a bell would ring in the office. In the first month, they sold books to people in all 50 states and over 40 countries. The bell was ringing so often that they eventually had to turn it off. This constant ringing was the sound of a company growing at an explosive rate. This wasn't just a new way to sell books. It was a new way to do business. What if Bezos had been too afraid to take that leap? The world of retail would look completely different today. Not all garage startups were in tech. In 1923, before there were theme parks and animated blockbusters, there was a young man with a dream. Walt Disney and his brother Roy were struggling to make it in the film business. When they couldn't find work, they opened their own studio in their uncle's one-car garage in Los Angeles. It was in that tiny, cramped space that they created their first films, the Alice comedies, a mix of live action and animation. These early cartoons were the very foundation of what would become the Walt Disney Company. Can you imagine a global entertainment empire starting with a few drawings and a camera in a garage? It proves that it's not the size of your workspace that matters, but the size of your imagination and the passion you have for your work. The list of companies that began in a garage is long and inspiring. Hewlett-Packard, HP in 1939. Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard started their company in a garage in Palo Alto, California, with a total investment of $538. Their first customer was Walt Disney Productions, which bought 8 of their audio oscillators for the movie Fantasia. That garage is now considered the birthplace of Silicon Valley. Microsoft. In 1975, Bill Gates and Paul Allen started their software company in a garage in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They had a ton of programming skill, but very little money. Mattel. The toy company behind Barbie started in a garage in Southern California in 1945. The founders, Ruth and Elliot Handler and Harold Matt Matson, were originally making picture frames before they realized the leftover scraps could be used to make dollhouse furniture. When the furniture sold better than the frames, they knew they had found their calling. So, what do all these stories have in common? It's not the garage itself. It's the mindset of the people who worked there. They didn't have the luxury of big offices, unlimited resources, or a safety net. They had to be scrappy, innovative, and incredibly determined. They believed in their ideas so much that they were willing to work in a small, uncomfortable space and make do with what little they had. It's a story about the power of an idea, the courage to start small, and the grit it takes to see it through. These people weren't born with billions. They were just regular people with an extraordinary idea and the courage to pursue it one day at a time. They chose to see a small space not as a limitation, but as a place to begin. These stories should inspire us all to think. What's the big idea in your head right now? What if you just started with whatever you have, wherever you are? The next billion-dollar company might just be waiting for its chance in a dusty garage somewhere. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. We've got more untold stories coming your way every week.